To this day, I still don't understand what we saw in that place, what we felt, what we barely escaped. I've tried to rationalize it, tried to make it into something logical, scientific, digestible, but I can't. My friend Lucas and I witnessed something unnatural in Black Hollow Ridge, and every day since it's lived in my head like a shadow I can't scrape off. We weren't there to chase ghosts. We weren't hoping for UFOs or ghouls or whatever the internet calls legend tripping. We went out there because we were curious, just students with a shared obsession for forgotten places and weird history. I studied colonial migration and early settlements. Lucas was all about folklore, especially the darker kind. Cryptids, cults, witchcraft, disappearances, ancient beliefs people buried and tried to forget. We'd been fascinated for years by ghost towns, places where life had just stopped. There's a particular weight to a place like that. It's not just the silence or the rot, it's the question. Why? Black Hollow Ridge didn't appear on many maps. The name barely showed up in any records. That alone was strange. According to what we could dig up, the town had been established in the early 1900s and closed down abruptly in 1952. No reason given. No census updates, no property transfers, just silence. The last postal service notice we found was a yellowed letterhead saying, "Forward mail for Ridge residents to surrounding counties." That was it. But the thing that really caught our attention was this one blurred newspaper clipping in the archives of an old regional library. The headline read, "Mass Migration or Mass Disappearance. Black Hollow Ridge mystifies county officials." There were no follow-ups, no investigations, just that one article. And what was worse, local people refused to talk about it. When Lucas asked around in nearby towns, people gave him that look, like he'd just mentioned a curse word in church. We had to go, not out of thrill-seeking. We told ourselves it was research. We even packed notebooks, cameras, voice recorders, all the stuff an amateur researcher would need. What we brought back was trauma. The town sits past a thicket of forest in rural Pennsylvania, off a road no one uses anymore. It was about a 3-hour drive from our campus. We left in the early afternoon, wanting to catch the late golden hour for some good photos. We thought we'd be back before midnight. The deeper we drove into the woods, the worse the road became. First gravel, then dirt, then nothing but tire scars swallowed by weeds. The forest got dense. The air got damp. At some point, Lucas turned off the music. We didn't say why, but both of us felt it. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, alert. I remember checking my phone, no bars, of course, and joking that we were now officially in found footage territory. Lucas didn't laugh. He just kept driving. When we finally reached Black Hollow Ridge, it didn't look like a town, just a collection of broken structures scattered like bones across a shallow valley. The sun was already low, casting shadows that made everything look wrong. Not creepy, not scary, just off. The first building we approached was a schoolhouse. Its roof had collapsed inward and its windows were nothing but jagged holes. Inside, desks were still in place. Rotten textbooks lay open, their pages fused from moisture. On one chalkboard, there were still faded letters. Spelling, trance, linger, vanish. Lucas took a photo of that. "That's a bit on the nose," he said. I forced a chuckle, but my throat was tight. I didn't like being inside that room. Something about it made my stomach tense, like a warning before a panic attack. The deeper we went into the town, the more bizarre it became. Furniture was still set up in houses, dishes still on tables. One place had a phonograph with a needle halfway across the record. It was like everyone had just stopped mid-motion. Not fled, not packed, just vanished. Lucas found a chapel near the center of town. That's where things started to spiral. The chapel looked surprisingly intact. No broken windows, no missing boards. The white paint was chipped, but not gone. It had this strange preservation, like time had tried to rot it, but something had held it together. We stepped inside and were hit with a smell I'll never forget. Not death, not mold, something old, like parchment and incense and iron. Lucas moved forward first, drawn to the altar. I stayed by the door. My skin was crawling. The pews were filled with old dolls, hundreds of them, just seated in silence, facing the altar like a congregation. Each one looked handmade. Their eyes were either stitched or completely hollow. Lucas swore under his breath. "This is bad," he said. "This is cult bad." He stepped onto the altar, pointing his flashlight around. There were carvings in the floor, symbols I couldn't identify, though they reminded me of something Nordic. Old Norse? No, older. Lucas bent down to look closer, and that's when we heard it. A whisper. At first I thought it was the wind, but there was no wind. The air was completely still. Then we heard it again. A voice, not loud, not aggressive, just constant, like someone praying in a language we didn't understand. We bolted. No debate. We just turned and ran out of that chapel like hell was behind us. Outside it was nearly dark, and then we saw it. Fog. Thick and low, like smoke hugging the ground. But it wasn't rising from the forest or rolling in with the weather. It was coming out of the well near the center of the town. I don't remember deciding to get closer to it, but we did. The well was old, stone and iron, with a cover partially rusted through. Fog slithered through the cracks like steam off boiling water. But it was cold. Freezing, actually. Lucas reached out toward it and immediately recoiled. "It's humming," he said. I leaned in. He was right. There was a vibration in the air around the well, almost like a heartbeat. I stepped back, suddenly dizzy. Then the whispering started again, but this time it was louder. Lucas grabbed my arm. "We need to go." That's when the fog moved. It didn't float. It didn't spread randomly. It reached. It spilled toward us like fingers, curling and branching, grabbing for our feet. We didn't wait to see how fast it could move. We ran. The run back to the car felt endless. We were tripping, swearing, panting like animals. Behind us, the fog was crawling faster than it should have been. Trees started to look twisted. Shapes moved between them, too big to be people, too fluid to be animals. When we finally reached the car, Lucas dropped the keys. I practically tackled him to snatch them up. As we reversed out of there, headlights caught something in the fog behind us, just for a second. It looked like a man, but his arms were too long, his mouth was too wide, and his eyes, God, his eyes, looked like they were glowing through the mist. We didn't speak until we hit asphalt again. We didn't sleep that night. We didn't talk about it the next day. Lucas deleted the photos. Every single one. He said he felt sick looking at them. I kept one. Just one. It's the photo of the blackboard from the schoolhouse. Spelling, trance, linger, vanish. That was exactly what happened to them, wasn't it? They lingered. They vanished. Something lives in Black Hollow Ridge. Something that doesn't age or die. Something that waits. Something that whispers. If you go there, you might not see it at first, but it'll see you, and it never forgets a face.